This is GMWD's Multiflight, and to be honest, I bought it thinking it would be a piece of shit and maybe we'd get a fun video out of it, but it's actually pretty good for the price. Here's the thing. If we look at the price range of machines like this, there's Panada, which is what this and others are all attempting to emulate, but listen, when they don't give a price on their website, at least for me, that's a sign I can't afford it. So we can save a few grand and look at the Temple of Gains version, but no matter how you build it, you're still talking thousands of dollars. GMWD's Stabading Multiflight with hydraulic assisted height adjusters cost me $400 shipped on Amazon. They do sell this on their own site as well, and fun fact, when I reached out to them for info on this machine, they offered to send me it for free so I could review it, but asked that I not mention it's also sold on Amazon because they offer better support and more reliable shipping. Yeah, I'm sure it has nothing to do with the fact they make more money by avoiding paying Amazon fees, so buy it from wherever it's cheapest. Rather than deal with GMWD trying to dictate things, I bought this myself with Patreon money. So if you enjoy our content and want to support the channel, then please consider joining our Patreon, where you can chat with us on Discord and where you would have already seen our early access exclusive review of this machine. And please consider using our affiliate links if you purchase something, as that's how we fund the channel. All right, let me show you how this works because it'll better help me to explain what it does well and not so well. So you've got these multi-joint articulating arms that can fully rotate around and can be locked into about 330 degrees worth of positions. They're pretty easy to adjust. It's just a single pop pin here, although I will say that pop pin sits really close to this head pad, so I've gotten really good at smashing my hand into it. But since it can rotate around this cam, as well as pivot here and here, you can get it into a lot of different positions. So for example, I could do a lat push down, or maybe you'd call it a pullover, or I can easily set it up to get a pretty good stretch and really good range of motion for a delt raise. Because of how adjustable this is, you can do a few more exercises on it than you probably think, at least at first glance. The only tricky part of it is trying not to hit yourself in the face with the arm. The entire carriage can also be adjusted in height by using this center handle and pop pin. It goes up in 2-inch increments from about 40 inches and up to 70 inches by using their barometric system, aka a gas spring that helps you to lift what would otherwise be a very heavy carriage. Now, I was actually having a hard time getting it up at first, but after applying a generous amount of lube in a few locations, it really helped make things slide around much easier. Being able to set it low lets you use it for things like an incline fly off an adjustable bench. Just keep in mind that works best with a compact bench like Prime Shorty, Iron Master's Super Bench, or Rep's Nighthawk. Although, fun fact, Rogue's Man Ray works decently too because it has a shorter rear leg so you can get it back far enough. I'm not exactly sure why you'd need to set this up super high, but I have been toying around with a unilateral overhead press that feels pretty good, so I guess maybe it's better to have the option than not. Which is the same thing I'd say about the middle joint of the arms. I like them having all this flexibility, even if it means they have a decent amount of play, but it's a trade-off. I'd like it if you could lock this center joint when you want them to be more rigid. For example, that would help make getting them into and out of position easier at times. And there are exercises where I want them on a fixed path so I can really focus and try to isolate those muscles. At the same time, their flexibility makes them a little more versatile, or maybe at least at times more comfortable than many other machines like this, as it lets them travel in a more natural path for some movements. Another difference between this and others is that GMWD's Multiflight is plate loaded, meaning you're walking to each side of the machine to load the weight, whereas Temple of Gains and ones like it have selectorized weight stacks. Selectorized systems are ideal since they're quicker to adjust. You just move the pin, but those big heavy stacks cost more to produce and ship. That being said, this uses a single weight source. So when using both arms, they're technically linked, but they do feel equal amounts of resistance. It's just not a true unilateral experience, although we can't really dock them points for that since every single machine I've seen like this is the same exact way. Because of how GMWD has configured this, it has about a 3-to-1 ratio. Now, we could go full nerd mode here and explain third-class levers and pulley ratios, but suffice it to say, it results in a very low 3-pound starting weight, which is awesome for my wife as she struggles with a lot of machines that start at 10 pounds. And with this, you can load whatever weight increment you want, and you're lifting about a third of the weight you load. So if you put 100 pounds back here, you get about 34 pounds of total resistance, or 17 pounds per hand, which may not sound like much, but for the type of exercises this is designed for, you're not lifting a ton of weight anyway. With 7.5-inch long weight horns, you can load quite a bit onto it. I just have no idea what the weight capacity of this thing is, and I really doubt GMWD actually tested it either. Also, it's not the best pulley system out there. The nylon pulleys they're using are okay, the bearings are pretty cheap, so there's a little resistance in them, and it tends to feel heavier than you think because of that. So I guess bonus points for not having to load as many plates on it. For the price though, and if I wasn't nitpicking and comparing it to some of the smoothest systems out there, this does feel really good, much better than I expected. The cables are pretty smooth and consistent, and if you wanted to, you could easily find better pulleys on Amazon. They're 90 and 80 millimeters, by the way, although replacing all 10 of them really might not be worth the money. Where there's a little inconsistency is with the resistance curve, but luckily it can be overcome for the most part. The weight is naturally going to be a little easier to move at the start or end of the lever's arc. It's the same idea as with a dumbbell curl. There's less resistance at the bottom and top of the movement, which is why we've invented 200 different ways to curl, to emphasize different portions of the movement. Well, that curls are awesome. Same concept with a dumbbell lat raise. At the beginning, there's not much resistance. That's why we often use cables to give us better resistance throughout the motion. With this, because of the lever and pulleys, you end up with a fairly long amount of travel where the resistance is pretty consistent because the weight is in the middle of its arc. And since the start position is highly adjustable, we can get around the issue of there not being much resistance at the beginning of the motion by simply changing where the arm starts. That adjustability also allows you to get more of a stretch during movements because you can set them further back at the start while maintaining tension throughout the full range of motion. That's the appeal of a machine like this. It allows you to really dial in the positioning so it works for you, while also guiding the movement, making it easier to focus on that mind-muscle connection. And I found it to work really well for crossovers, flies, and a lot of shoulder movements. It's not perfect though. GMWD isn't going to have the build quality and fit and finish of a more expensive model. I'd love to have better handles than these rubber slip-on ones, a smoother system that's using better pulleys, or a selectorized stack. Not only because it would add stability, but it's also more convenient and you'd get more consistent resistance and gain about 2 feet of space back since you don't need room to load the plates. Whether I want to pay 5 times or more what I did to get this is an entirely different question. Of course, I could modify it to connect it to a weight stack or attach a Voltra to it to even out the resistance some, but the irony of me modifying a $400 machine to make it work with one that costs thousands isn't lost on me. I think I'd really like to check out an upgraded selectorized model to see how much better it is than this, because let's be honest, there's no denying the similarities between GMWDs and others. So let me know if that's something you want to see, and maybe I'll review the Temple of Gains ones, or maybe something like Bells of Steel's Boulder Shoulder makes more sense for your space. If you're interested, I'll check that one out too. The other question you'll have to answer is a machine like this for you? You can do the things this does using other equipment, although I will admit now that I've got one, I like having it. It's more versatile than I'd have thought, although still limited, but it really lets you focus, isolate, and hit your shoulders and chest. It wouldn't be the first, second, or even third machine on my list, but it's a pretty cool tool to have if you have the space and are interested in the things it does well. For $400, I'm happy with it considering the alternatives cost thousands, even if those machines are better. Let me know what you think, and thanks to our Patreons, this video literally would not exist without you.